So I've gone live now.
Okay, great. Let me see. Okay, that was great.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let me see. Hi, everyone. My name is Andrews, and then I'll be moderating today. We're going to start in a few minutes. We are just giving about 2 minutes to those who haven't joined yet to kind of join so that we'll be able to start and then kind of move over things quickly. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes, can we help?
Hi.
Hi.
Just about 1 minute more, then we could start. Okay, thank you. All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first edition of AOID Guide to Postgraduate and Scholarship Application to the University of Cambridge. So during this section, we're going to give you some information and then some guide to the mentorship section we'll be having as time goes on throughout the application process. My name is Andrews, and then I'll be facilitating or moderating the meeting today. Before we begin, I would like to you to take note of a couple of housekeeping rules. Please, in order to reduce the bandwidth, could you please turn off your cameras so that those who do not have a lot of bundle in our part of the world could participate throughout without their bundle getting finished. Secondly, in order not to create distractions during the meeting, could you please mute your speakers so that the meeting could flow without any distractions. Thirdly, avoid interrupting the speaker with questions, even if you need clarification, but rather you could please hang on and then wait to the question and answer time so that you could forward your question. Equally, you could also send your questions to the live chat and then they will be read during the question and answer time. To ask any question, please raise your hand using the icon on the bar or the text. And then during the question and answer time, you would be spotted and then asked to ask your question. Before you ask your question, it would be good to introduce yourself so that we know who is talking, where you are coming from, and then which course you studied. The interaction studies section will just be 30 to 40 minutes. And then we have the rest of the time for question and answer. So in total, we are looking at spending about 2 hours for this section. Question and answers that were sent in advance before this meeting will be tackled first, then the rest will be added on later if there's still much time. Please pay attention and not repeat any questions that has already been answered. I'm sorry, I have turned off my camera because currently where I am is very dark, and then I'm hoping to get the light on, then I'll put my camera on so that you could see me. But 2 of us will be facilitating the meeting today. On your left-hand side is Dr. David Izuogu, who is a Cambridge Trust Scholar, and he's current and he studied computational chemistry as his PhD. He was affiliated to Wolfson College in the University of Cambridge. So focusing only in experiences in Cambridge, he founded the he's the founder of Africa Dream Initiative, which you all have been, I would say, have had the privilege to join us today through this program. He's also the founder of the Chooks Academy of Nigeria. He's the former president and student trustee of Wolfson College. He was the president of the Wolfson College Entrepreneur Society. He was also the postgraduate student representative of the Department of Chemistry. He is the board member of the Cambridge Africa Initiative Advisory Board. He is also the international officer of the Cambridge University Graduate Union, and he's an ambassador of the Royal Society of Chemistry. To the right is me. As I already mentioned, my name is Andrews Adiasante, and I did my MPhil in Therapeutic Sciences at the Cambridge Academy of Therapeutic Sciences. My scholarship was awarded by the Ghana Education Trust Fund, GETFund. I was affiliated to Sydney Success College at the University of Cambridge. I'm currently a trustee of this foundation. I'm a formal secretary or general secretary of the African Society of Cambridge. I was the formal steward of the Sydney Success College Chapel. I was the student consultant during my time in Cambridge at the Cambridge Medical and Innovative IT, which was organized by the Institute of Manufacturing, Department of Engineering. I was also the assistant organizer for the Cambridge University Entrepreneur Society. Please, if you are now joining, it would be good to mute yourself in order not to distract the session. So, now to begin this section, this program is hosted or is being brought to you by the Africa of Our Dream Initiative, which is focused on empowering the youth and then women through education and capacity building. So the foundation's vision and mission are to build a new Africa where individuals will thrive and have access to the necessary things of life by promoting, supporting, and investing in health, education, and opportunity, as well as human capital development for sustained prosperity. So in the pictures, these are events organized by the African Society of Cambridge, the previous executive of the African Society. And then as you could see below, some events that were hosted or organized by the Africa of Our Dream Initiative. So in the first two images above, you could spot David and I. Yeah, the first one was an Africa over Coffee event. It was really interesting. We hosted the Minister of Gabon. And then the second one was So to start this, let me welcome again the founder of the foundation, David. David, could you please say something about yourself which I've not mentioned?
Oh, you're too generous with words, man. Okay, so yeah, like Andres did mention, I'm David. I'm the founder of Africa for Our Dream Initiative, which is basically something that we decided to found because of the opportunities that was availed to me in particular, from undergraduate all the way through master's to my PhD. All my studies have always been funded. And I thought about a way of giving back to the society for the generous funding that I had received. And I thought that founding a foundation that is going to support people like me back home would be something worthwhile to do, which is the reason we founded this. And since we founded this in 2018, every year we've supported a lot of students to, dare to apply to places, top universities of the world, be it in Cambridge, Oxford, MIT, Stanford, and what have you. But most of the things that we do are kind of concentrated here around Cambridge. And so I hope that at the end of this, you will find this section engaging and useful. And hopefully by next year, I will be able to see some of you in Cambridge pursuing your dream. So yeah, hopefully I can say a lot more about what we do going forward once we begin with the whole thing. So for time constraint for now, we'll just stop here now.
Okay, that's good to know, David. So can you tell us a little bit about the mentorship scheme? Why this mentorship scheme at this particular time, when we have just 1 month to the application to the most of the scholarship application deadline?
Yeah, sure. But before I comment on that, please, can you mute your mic? This is being streamed on YouTube and it's gonna be there later on. Mute your mic so you don't kind of interrupt with the flow of the conversations we're going to be having. When it's your time to speak, you can unmute.
Madam, go and sit down.
Ali Kali Francis, can you please mute your mic? Okay, so just like I did mention, the issue of mentorship, I usually tell some people that if I knew the things that I knew now, I would have made different decisions during my undergrad or after my undergrad or even before my postdoc and all that. So I know that information is power, and most times people miss information, miss opportunities because they lack that information. So from 2018, we started this mentorship. We started very small. We started with 3 universities, actually, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Covenant University, and then Redeemer University. These are places where I visited personally in 2000. So I visited this place in 2018 to talk to people about the opportunities, especially in Cambridge. And every year what we tend to do is to reassess what we've done, the impacts we've made, the people we supported, were they able to get admission into Cambridge or not. But in the past, the turnout rate, which means the number of people we mentored and the number of people that finally get into Cambridge, has not been measurable in terms of the number we would have wanted to get in. So this year, I decided that the foundation would have to partner with Africa Society of University of Cambridge to provide a more holistic kind of mentorship. And what we did was to use the connections that the network I built around Cambridge from 2018, the Cambridge Trust, which is going to be, for some of you, if you're successful, you'll be funded by the highest scholarship body, which gives thousands of scholarships every year to Cambridge students. It's called Cambridge Trust. So the president I reached out to her, and she has always been supporting the things that Africa for a Dream Initiative does, all the way from 2018. And this time around, I complained to her that the efforts we make to bring in students to Cambridge has not actually been met with a commensurable output. And so we've had all of this dialogue around Cambridge with respect to making sure that more African students, more minority students, more people from the Middle East, those populations that are not well represented at Cambridge, that they actually come here. So there are a whole lot of pressure that we, both the foundation and the student union of African societies here in Cambridge, is placing on Cambridge to make sure that they provide more funding for African students, for people from the Middle East, Asia, be it anywhere, those minority students will come to Cambridge. And this time around, although we have started the first section of this mentorship, which is in collaboration with our school, and then we are mentoring about 140 students. We have over 80 mentors that we've assigned to these people. But I have a new collaboration where someone has asked me to provide just 10 people. I was actually asked to bring in 10 people that could, be mentored to apply to Cambridge, which is the reason I posted the stuff I posted on LinkedIn. But I was kind of overwhelmed by the number of people who indicated interest. From 10, we are getting over 500, over 600 people coming on board. So I looked at it and said, okay, I think we can do something for this extra number of people. So some of you are going to receive some kind of a special email. There are going to be 10 of you that the other organization we are partnering with is going to pick and deliver on some kind of one-on-one mentorship. But what I wanted to do with this group that I'm going to have here is to give you a closer mentorship. We're going to create a WhatsApp group later and add people who have attended this event. And then we are going to also come live here. I'm going to create a pseudo application and walk you through every single page of Cambridge application process. And we talk about the things that you are supposed to be writing, how you're supposed to structure your writing. We talk about providing you resources to make an amazing CV, your personal statement, your research proposal. All of these things are what is being tested whenever you make your application. And trust me, a whole lot of you have got the experience and what it takes to come here. But maybe the language you use when you write your essays, maybe the story you tell are the problem why when you apply for all of these scholarship opportunities, you don't get it. Okay, so the Cambridge president, I'm happy that Andrew shared this particular slide. If you look at the left-hand side, the right-hand side, the bottom, these are some of the top scholarship guys in Cambridge that we have worked with. This was a particular program we had just last year. The first person you are seeing there is the admission officer of Cambridge University. Then the second person is the graduate education manager for my department, chemistry. And then the third person we are seeing there is Helen Pernert, who happens to be the president of a Cambridge Trust. And the last person before myself is Jean Smith, who happens to be the program director of Gates Cambridge Scholarship. So we have direct access with all of these people. And we've been having all of this conversation on how we can create more opportunity for Africans, for those minority students to come to places like this. So I know there are people who told me they're from Iran. There's no problem. You'll still be able to benefit from whatever it is that we are going to be providing you here. Okay, so that is it. I think later on I'm going to still talk about the scope of this mentorship. But for now, let it not be like this is going to be a monologue. I will hand over to the moderator if there is any other question you would like to ask me.
Yes. So just with the information you've provided, I'm going to share a poll, which I should have shared earlier on, So please answer the poll with all honesty, especially the third one. The third one asks, how likely are you to apply for the 2021 application round? Please assess yourself, check how ready are you for this application, because you just have less than a month to apply. So please assess yourself and then see if you would be willing or you are ready to apply, okay? And then you answer that one with all honesty. So I'm giving just 3 minutes for this. Please do submit your answers. And then we move on from there.
Andrew, could you stop sharing so probably they can begin to see our faces or something?
Okay, great. So
the screen.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Please 3 minutes more. Please 1 minute more, then we stop sharing. Please try and then answer, because we are going to base on this poll to make a decision. So I would urge everyone to try and then answer, at least provide the feedback. Okay, whilst we scale down to the last seconds of the time, let me put this question to you, David. The University of Cambridge is a very competitive university to apply to. Can you tell us what you think could prevent an average student from coming to Cambridge?
Yeah, generally, I remember when I was running to be the president of international students at Cambridge, one of the promises I made was to increase access to minority students or international students to come to Cambridge. As of then, I had thought that there is this quota system that says, okay, 20% of students who are going to be admitted in Cambridge has to be international, while maybe 80% is home students, all of that. So I made that promise. But then when I won the election and I became the international officer of the Graduate Union, I had a meeting with the Pro-Vice Chancellor Academy, Professor Graham Vigo, and I brought this up. And he told me that no, that there is no quota system, that Cambridge admits everyone who is able to come here and has what it takes, has the potential to do amazing research at the University of Cambridge. So we reached out to the admission, and we realized that there are a whole lot of minority students who are being made offer to come to Cambridge. But the problem is that many of them don't take up that offer. Why? The reason is funding. So the major obstacle in the way of people who have made an amazing application to actually come to Cambridge is funding.
Yeah, should leave and re-enter.
So funding is limited to come here. So that is one thing. Then the second thing, which is what even prevents people from getting an offer in the first place, is how serious they have taken the application, how they have been guided, how competitive is the application they've made, the CV you are presenting, how is it, the research proposal, your interest, the references that you've written, that you've submitted, who wrote your reference and what did the person write for you, the personal statement that you've actually submitted, what is the story you are telling them? If I assess your entire application, will I be able to decide that you have the potential to come to Cambridge to do amazing cutting edge research? So these are the major obstacles on the way of people taking the application serious, getting that proper guideline in order to make a competitive application. And then when you get in, when you have made an offer, then you face the hurdle of funding. Okay, so you need to also find a way to get funding. But there are ways. Every year, Cambridge gives thousands of scholarships. Thousands, I'm not talking about hundreds. Okay, thousands of scholarships. But some people don't even know that these scholarships exist in the first place. Okay, yeah. So which is the reason we are putting all of this together. This time around is unique because we've made contact with those people who provide this funding. And we've complained to them that people from this region are not coming in here because you are not giving them funding. And we've also made them aware that you cannot begin to judge someone who attended University of Nigeria and Nsukka in Nigeria with the same standard you want to use in competing in judging someone who attended Stanford University in the US. Okay, so someone in the US might have the money, like say £1,000 to do some volunteering projects. But £1,000 is like almost 700,000 naira for someone in Nigeria. So someone in Nigeria who have used 100,000 naira to run a project is going to be seen as a lesser person. And we're telling them, no, you don't have to do that because that 100,000 means a whole lot to that person. And this is how you know who has utilized the opportunity they have to grab a whole lot of things. So we've educated them on that. And it looks like this particular time, after next year, I might not be in Cambridge, which is the reason I decided to support this cohort of applicants to make this application. Because one, we're in continuous conversation with those who are going to be providing that funding. And then we want to support you. We are not asking them to even give you this funding for free. We want to support you to make competitive applications that is going to get you that funding. And I'm optimistic with the caliber of people I've seen come on board here. I'm optimistic that this particular mentorship is going to be like really, really a unique one. It's a great opportunity. We've never had this kind of a connection with the funding body before, and they are very happy to come on board.
Wow, that's a great opportunity. I wish I was part of you guys because during my time, I really struggled, you know. I really struggled with funding. That's good. Someone might be thinking, so aside that, what are some of the limitations when it comes to the application process? Something like the admission fee, because I've seen a lot of people comment on the application fee, rather, sorry. So, yeah, so a lot of people are asking, are they going to get assistance with application fee? So I think if you could say a little bit about that in order to kind of advise them as the section goes through.
So yeah, with issue regarding that, to be honest, like I told you, I'm still a student. Hopefully I'm going to be doing my graduation next year by the grace of God, wrapping up my PhD. And I founded Africa for a Dream Initiative. We are always looking for project facilitators, volunteers, people to come on board and help us to write, write proposals that can get us from funding to support initiatives like this. So for now, like I told you, we have initial 150 people that we are catering for. And for those people, we have some funding to support their application. Some of them, not all of them. We still have like 30 people that we cannot support. Okay. So for this, I just wanted to give you the limit that we can go with the mentorship we are providing. The application fee is £75. which I know, for instance, those of you in Africa, if you convert it to your currency, it's a whole lot of money. Okay, that I understand. But there could be potential ways out. Okay, there's something I've engaged the admission office with. We've been working with the students' union to see if the university can scrap the application fee completely, because we are telling them that is an obstacle for people coming from this minority background to make this application. And they're asking us for evidence. Okay, so later on, for those of you who really want to pursue this opportunity, I'm going to share, once we go on WhatsApp, I'm going to share a link, an email with you. I'm going to share an email with you that you're going to use and contact. You're going to write, because you can apply for a waiver. You have to say that you won't be able to pay this application fee, and this is the reason why you won't be able to do that. And then probably they ask you for some documents to back up that. And in the past, there has been a couple of people who were successful with that. But if you can really pay the application fee, there is no problem. Pay for it. We'll give you the best support to make sure that that money doesn't, it's not a waste. But if you can, and you are really passionate about going for this, and the only option that is available for us is for you to apply for that waiver from the university. Unfortunately, the funding that Africa for Our Dream Initiative in collaboration with our school has run up. I'm still talking to people. In fact, last week I spoke to the head of my department, who promised to reach out to some alumni to see if we can get some money. If that money comes, then we might be able to support some people. But if it doesn't come, then your option would be for you to write that letter to the university for a waiver. So that is possible.
Oh, okay, that's great news then. Yeah, great news to those who would not be able to apply, but you do your best to kind of give a valid reason. You just don't want to state anything. You have to give a valid and convincing reason when you are requesting for a waiver. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Do you feel that those who go through the mentorship program stand a chance of getting an offer and then a scholarship to come to Cambridge? If yes, why do you feel so confident about this?
Okay, so my answer for this question is going to be yes and no. I always tell people, we are going to provide you the necessary support, but the decision or your chances of getting in solely depends on you. For instance, let's assume that you wrote a personal statement, and maybe I'm on a Zoom call with you trying to talk through what you've written. I can only support the ideas that you've brought on your personal statement. I can't manufacture new ideas if you've not told me about them, because I don't know you. I don't know about your life. I don't know what has happened in your life. I don't know about your aspirations. So all of these things still boils down on much of the things that you are going to do. But I am confident that if you're a serious student and you are able to explore within what you have, that the support system we are going to provide is going to increase your chances of getting into Cambridge by more than 50%. I mean, more than 50% compared to the initial chances you have. So what it means that if initially you had like 40% chances, we are going to move it to 90% chance of getting into Cambridge. So we have resources that we've placed together. So these resources has both from how to write a personal statement, how to write your CV, the keywords you are looking for. We have a software that we can easily run your CV through, and the software will tell you how your CV ranks on percentage and tell you what to correct in order to make that CV stand out. So we have all of this support system, which we are able to get from the University of Cambridge that we can then use to support you. And apart from that, we are going to have a section, maybe next weekend, but it will depend on those people who finally come on board. In that section, what we are going to do is to walk through the application process. From chapter 1 of that application form, I've created a pseudo application form. So I'm going to walk all of you through that application process and tell you, when you are asked a career goal, What are they looking for? How can you, write a winning career goal that is going to interest someone who is reading it? When you are writing your personal statement, what are the key things you are looking for? How can you structure this to bring out those things that you are looking for? If you want to get someone to write you reference, who should you look for? How can you go about, doing? So we have, it's going to be near impossible for you to get this kind of support and still not be able to get into Cambridge. We know the loopholes. We know why you might not stand a chance to get in. And we are going to tell you about that, tell you what to do in order to remedy that. Okay, so all of these things are going to come in the real mentorship. But the problem now is that we have limited time. So some of you, your application deadline, it's not the real application deadline, but it's the funding deadline. And so because you are going to come in with the mindset that you want to get funded, so you have to submit your application by the funding deadline, not by the real application deadline, because you use just one form. That's one single application you're submitting is what is going to be used to judge you for admission and for funding as well. You're not making a separate application, it's just that one single application. Although there are some other funding that might require you to do extra application for the funding, but majority of the funding will consider you on the basis of that single application that you've put forward.
Thank you very much for the clarification, David. I just received a question from those watching on YouTube. And then one person said those on YouTube couldn't participate when the poll was shared. So how do they benefit from being shortlisted into the WhatsApp group?
Okay, so what is going to happen is that I'm going to create a quick Google form before the end of this, and I will share that Google form both on YouTube and on Zoom, where I'm going to share that at the end of this event. So, and I will give a space of 30 minutes because I don't want people who didn't participate to start filling that form. The reason is that experience have shown that when people come on board late, they begin to ask questions that you have answered in the past, and that begins to draw us backwards. So we don't want that because we don't have time. So I'm going to create a Google form that will just ask you one question, your email address. So put in your email address there, you will receive the link to join the WhatsApp group.
Thank you very much. I think that's good news for our colleagues watching via YouTube. So a lot of people have been asking me since we started sharing this opportunity on Facebook and Instagram. They were like, how much do we charge for this mentorship program? Because they've realized a lot of consults are not for free. So how much do you charge, David?
Yeah, so I can understand why they're asking that question. For instance, on LinkedIn, my LinkedIn message was blowing up. If you are here and you sent me a chat and I didn't reply, it's not because I don't want to reply, but I'm just one person. I don't have a personal assistant. I'm not a politician. So I handle all those things myself. Sometimes I read people's message, but maybe there is no need to respond and I just go on. It doesn't mean that I have not seen your message. When I see your message that I know that it requires me to respond, I will definitely respond. Okay, so that is by the way. So I can see that with all of this, people could imagine that, okay, would there be at some point where David is going to ask them to pay some money? The answer is no. Africa for a Dream Initiative is a not-for-profit organization, and anything we do are for free. So the people who come on board to support us for free. So they volunteer their time to help us do what we are doing. And so anything we do ourselves, we give them out for free. We don't charge a dime. So it's my time I'm spending, Andrew is spending his own time, and other amazing volunteers who always work with us. The more than 80 mentors we've brought on board, they all devote their time. So which is the reason you can't afford to waste this time, that people are bringing their precious time to support you. So you need to take it seriously. So no, we don't charge. It's £0, zero whatever currency that appears to you.
Wow. That sounds like a blessing for those who might not be able to afford, because now these consults charge a lot just for a little service, and then with this much that you and then your foundation is putting in, and then you are charging nothing, I think it's a blessing to all of us, and then we say God bless you for that. Now moving down to the next question, I want to ask you, so what are the expectations from those who you mentor during this program? What are your expectations for them?
Okay, so someone reached out to me and the person was asking if they can fill the form. In fact, he wasn't even asking for himself. He was asking for someone else, okay? But there was something I asked the person. I said, if you are sure that this person, we are not going to push this person to kind of join what we are doing and benefits from it, then fine, I can send you the form to send to the person. So why am I saying this? Why I'm saying this is, like I've said before, if you want to get the best from this, at least for now, let me say it, when I invite you on WhatsApp, there are going to be many people you don't know there, so many numbers you don't know. If you don't save anything, because some people can be in a group WhatsApp and they don't read the chat, maybe because people are chatting too much or thereabouts. But if you don't save anything, save my own number so that when I send comments, I can't post anything in any single chat I'm going to be sharing in there is going to be a meaningful chat. So you don't want to miss and not read it, and then later on ask me questions on something I've explained before. So the expectation is that you are going to be devoted to do your own path. I promise you, Africa for a Dream Initiative and the team, we do our own part to support you. We provide the necessary resources. We'll be there to answer your question. We'll be there to help you navigate the whole process. But you need to devote your own time. You can't expect me to do the things that you are supposed to do. Before this event, I gave simple and clear instructions to people, but some people still defaulted on those instructions. I said, don't reply. And if you want to reply to this, reply to admin at Africa for a Dream Initiative. But some people were still replying to my private email. I gave a form. I say, any question you have at all, send those questions here so that we can address them and other people can learn from it. But some people were still sending me private questions. So it made me to understand that these people did not read the email that took me so much time to put together and send to you. So always read between the lines. I can't go and start researching your department for you. There are a whole lot of departments in Cambridge. So I expect you to research your department yourself. And then if you have any question, ask questions, and we can use our expertise and knowledge to help you navigate through that system. But you need to do your own part. And I want to make sure, please, if you know that at this point you are not ready to do this, there's no problem. All you need to do is to follow Africa for a Dream Initiative across our social media platform. Every year when we want to call for new mentees, we post all these things on our social media. So if you are following us, you will see the one we are going to post for next year. It's not a must. We want to work this year with people who are passionate about coming to Cambridge and who wants to do their best to make sure that they get admitted at Cambridge.
Wow. Thank you very much, David. Thank you very much. So for those who are just joining us, I know a lot of you would have lots of questions, but just to summarize certain parts, so the nature of support that the foundation, that is AOID, will be providing will be generalized. That is support throughout the application process, step by step. That is if you are shortlisted to join the WhatsApp group and then fortunate enough to participate during that process. And then also if you are fortunate you might be supported with the application fee, and then for those who might not be supported, you will still be given a link or an email to contact the administration for a waiver. So that will be it. And then, so the last question before we move to the question and answer section, could you please summarize what the timeline of activities are, and then what should follow from now for those who would want to continue with the mentorship program?
Yeah, sure. So this event we are having now is more of a briefing, summarizing, telling you everything that is going to happen and allowing you to ask a couple of questions that you will have. So from now on, like I told you, there are 2 funding deadlines. Most departments in Cambridge will continue to admit students, continue to receive application all the way to June 2022. But the only thing is that anyone who submits for some departments, submits application beyond 2nd December, will not be considered for funding. And some departments, especially those in life sciences, if you submit your application beyond 7th of January, you won't be considered for funding. So for us, or for me in particular, I know that most Africans might not. I would tell you, my PhD is funded by 3 different funding bodies. And every year, this funding body spend nothing less than £50,000. That's about maybe say 35 million naira equivalent for those from Nigeria per year that my scholarship spends on me. And they're going to spend this for 4 years. So it's a huge amount of money, right? If you want to do that on your own, it's just like asking your parents to provide you 35 million naira every year to fund you. You have to know how wealthy your parents are for them to do that. So because of that, I am aiming that anyone we are supporting, we are not just supporting you to get an offer. We want to support you to get an offer and then get funding. Okay, so that is what we are going to support you. So the way we are going to start, like I did mention, before, once we get to WhatsApp, I will give you a definite date, but before the 2nd of December, we are going to run a section like this, where I will share my screen, and in my screen is going to be the application platform. And we run, it's a studio application. I'm not going to submit it at the end, but I'm going to use it to walk you through page by page, question by question, how to complete that application, okay, on your own. So that's going to be the first thing to look out for. Then the next thing is now you are going to start doing things on your own. You have to research your department. For those of you who are doing a PhD, now most times people are not successful in coming to Cambridge, not because they are not good students, but because in the department where they're applying to, the kind of research they want to do, there is nobody who is available to supervise you. So if there is no supervisor available, you won't be able to get an offer of admission to study anything that is research-based. So what you're going to do, I know the time is short, find 3 or 4 people within a particular department you're applying to, write them. That is if your department requires you to look for supervisors. Write them and explain to them that you would want them to supervise. Okay, I'm going to share a document which will have all the resources. In that resources, you're going to see a particular PowerPoint that highlights how to contact supervisors, how to structure your email. There's also some sample email that you can look at and say, okay, this is how I'm going to go about it. Just a very short email. Introduce yourself, tell them about your qualification, your research interest, and how that research interest matches their own research interests. And you would like them to supervise you. Okay, and then attach some of the credentials that you have. It's a very simple email. We are going to see all of that in the resource folder that we are going to share with you. Okay, so that is the thing you have to do. However, do not expect any reply from them. No, don't expect any reply. So don't say you don't want to continue with your application because these people have not replied you. No, go ahead and continue with your application. And if your department also requires you to mention a number of supervisors you would like to work with, put their names in there in the order you would want them to work with you. However, you must make sure that your research experience, your summary of research, and for those who would write research proposal, that all of this ties together into something that someone in that department might be interested in. Let's assume you want to do a research that will take us to the moon, and you are coming to chemistry department. I can assure you that there is nobody in chemistry department that does any research that takes people to the moon. So irrespective of how ambitious that research is, and maybe you are someone with a CGPA of 5/5, Cambridge will not offer you admission. The reason is that there's nobody in the department that is interested in that research. You can see that you have an amazing research proposal, you have 5/5 CGPA, but you did not get an offer. Or someone who has 4/5 or 4.5/5, but is doing something, is interested in something that someone in the department is doing, had an offer. So you need to understand all of this. Tailor your application to fit into what somebody in the department is doing. So that is going to be your part. And then the next thing, we are going to have a lot of interaction. I will make my time to answer questions on the WhatsApp group. So as you progress and navigate through the whole process, if you have any question, post it on the WhatsApp group. Please don't send me personal chats unless what you want to ask about is really personal. Or maybe you just want to say, hi, David. I'm fine for people to explain, to exchange pleasantries. But don't ask me questions that I can answer and other people will benefit from. Don't send them privately to me. Send it to the group chat. And when I answer, every other person will learn from it.
Wow, thank you very much for the deep knowledge shared for all of us. I think a lot of us have benefited a lot. Some of us before this, we were quite skeptical whether we would apply, whether we would try, whether we would even risk our money to try, because it's a lot of money for the application fee. But I know that at this point, a lot of people have actually gained some knowledge. A lot of people have been motivated. A lot of people have also gained some few tips to make the application very wonderful, although we plan to go into a more detailed one once the WhatsApp group has been created and then the link shared for all of us to join. Now it's time for questions and answers. And then as said earlier before, we are going to start with the questions that were sent earlier on prior to the start of the meeting. So the first question is, do we require ALT or GMAT or GRE to get to Cambridge as an African student? Let me put it in general.
Okay, so there are some departments. The one on top of my head is economics. Economics in Cambridge requires you to get a GRE. The Faculty of Law, I think, also requires you strictly to get a language test. Now, another thing, so there is no, I've not heard of GMAT. I've heard of GRE and the language without TOEFL, IELTS and all of that, language testing. However, there are people who can ask for a waiver for the language test. With the exception of law faculty do not consider that waiver. But other departments across Cambridge, most of them consider the waiver. Let's say there are two groups of people who would ordinarily be considered not to provide your TOEFL and your any language test. They are grouped into Group A country and Group B country. Group A country are people that you just don't have to show anything. Just tell them in the application that your country is one of those in Group A, and that is it. Then for those in Group B, these are countries that use English as maybe a way of communication, studies, or whatever it is. But for some reason, there are still some population of that country that do not understand English. So for this purpose, if you have a language test result, you can use it to prove your English language ability. But if you don't have, please don't stress yourself. If your country is listed in country B, when you start the application, you're going to see that list. There's a link that takes you to that list. If your country is listed in B, don't worry about writing any language test. Just click the last option in that question is going to be other reason, that kind of thing. So it will open up a box where you simply tell them, typically, for instance, if you're from Nigeria, and just tell them that your medium of learning from primary through secondary to tertiary education in Nigeria was all done in English. And so you are confident that you can do your program at Cambridge in English without any problem. So what will happen is that when you are made an offer, the language center in Cambridge will reach out to you to then personally test you. It's a very simple test. They give you some comprehension to read and answer a couple of questions. They play some audio recording and ask you questions from it. And then finally, they have some phone call or Skype call just to chat about things and see how you speak. And at the end, you would have used that to meet your language test. So if you are from that group B, don't worry about writing any language test of a thing. Even if your department specifically requires that, apart from law, again, I would say, and apart from economics that requires GRE, other ones, they can always give you admission. And if you are made offer, you can fulfill that offer as part of the condition. So you are usually given a conditional offer with a list of conditions to meet: financial, your language test, and a whole lot of things, showing your regional credentials and all of that. And that still reminds me, I don't know if someone must have asked this question. If you are still studying your current degree and you don't have your final results, so right now you can use half of your results. If you're in final year of undergraduate, you want to apply for master's, you can use your results from first year to third year to do the application. If you can't get it from your university and you are very sure what your grades are, you can actually use a PowerPoint to design your own grade, like list the courses, your grade and everything, and use that as a tentative result to make your application. So they will judge you on that basis. And then when you are made an offer, you'll be required to then produce the original copy, which you have until July of next year to produce. Okay, so for now, if you can't lay your hands on your transcript or whatever it is, you can always, and you know what your results are. You can bring those results semester by semester, term by term, put them in a Word document, write the name of your university and what those grades mean, convert it to PDF and upload it. That was actually how I made my own application. I got my final results in September when I was supposed to resume at Cambridge in October. Okay, but I already had my funding, I already had my offer, even though I submitted with half of my results. Okay.
Okay, that's very good news for those of you who have been thinking very hard about, your results not being because the educational system was distracted by the COVID-19. But at least you've heard some good news. You've heard some good feedback from David about how you can structure your transcripts if you don't have the full transcript available. Also, to those who have been asking, your total outscore is 7.0, but you fall short in certain categories. I think with what David said, you could still submit that, and then you could still reach out to the language department, and then you could take the Cambridge exams. I think they would really consider you because you fall short in certain sectors, but your total still reaches 7. Now to the next question. Someone was saying that they are thinking, because they are currently doing their national service, and then national service ends in September. So they are thinking whether it will be possible to apply or not. For that one, let me even answer it. Yes, please, you can apply. Okay. Yes, please, you can apply. And next question to you, David. Someone said they applied to Cambridge before and then they didn't get in. So does it limit their chances of reapplying and gaining a scholarship?
No, it doesn't. You didn't get in before because you probably didn't do what you were supposed to do. It could be that you did everything you were supposed to do, but there was no supervisor that was supposed to supervise you. Okay, you don't give up after trying once. Okay, I have a lot of friends who made more than 50 applications before being successful with one. Okay, so all you need, the only thing you cannot do is to reapply with the same application content that was rejected. So you need to sit down and go through this mentorship if you're passionate about reapplying. And then when you go through the process of our mentorship, you would have understood why your application was rejected. You would have seen the difference between the application you made then and what you could potentially make now. So the fact that you were rejected before, I have even some people in the same scholarship that I have had applied to Cambridge like 3 times before they got offer. I was just lucky that I applied once and I got in once. Okay, but there are a whole lot of people who has applied a couple of times before they finally got in.
Thank you for that, David. I also applied once and then got in. I was fortunate, I would say. But to those who have applied before but didn't get in, don't be discouraged. You'd have to try again. Maybe on your next attempt, you might get in. Maybe on your 3rd or 4th. It's all based on you and then how you draft your application. So as David said, when the time is right, you'll go through the application process step by step, and then you could learn and then be able to draft a strong application. Yeah, someone is also asking that does Cambridge have a specific format for CV and then personal statement?
Okay, there is no specific format for a CV, but definitely the kind of CV I have seen people like connections from Nigeria share with me. Some people put their picture in the CV, don't do that. Some people put their age in the CV, don't do that. Some people write list of their states, their kindred name and all of that. No, we have a template with more than 50 different CVs that we are going to send to you. You will look at them and see we have the wrong ones, and we tell you we compare 2 CV that want to be used to apply for the same role. And we'll tell you this person have placed this like this, and this person have placed this like this. This is why this is better, and this is why this is not good. So all of that resources will be given to you, and you will use that format to prepare your CV. And then you talk about the personal statement. Now, personal statement is something that people struggle a lot with. You need to understand what the person who is asking you to write personal statement is looking for. In the US, the personal statement may have a different tone from what it is in the UK. So during the application process, like I mentioned, we are going to walk through that. I'm going to be telling you what they are looking for in a personal statement. For instance, if you want to apply for Gates Cambridge, on Gates Cambridge website, they will tell you they are looking for 4 things: academic excellence, leadership quality, commitment to improving the lives of others, and then the reason for applying to Cambridge. So you want to make sure that in your personal statement that you address these 4 key things that they are looking for. Okay, so it's very simple and straightforward. You get those guidance, you just have to tell your story and ask yourself, what should I bring?
how should I tell this to fit into what they are looking for? So yes, Cambridge will definitely have a particular way you should structure each personal statement, especially because it now looks as if those who will be submitting personal statements will be those who are applying for Gates Cambridge.
Thank you very much for this, David. Also, to those who have raised your hands, we are going to get to you soon to answer your questions, but we are trying to kind of answer the questions that were sent earlier on. Also, please don't feel bad for me not reading your questions, because some of the questions have already been answered during the presentation. So because of time, I'm not going to repeat. And then I'm trying as much as possible to combine lots of questions to ask. Okay, so someone also asked, is it possible to just go from undergrad or a bachelor's degree straight to a PhD without doing master's?
Okay, so my answer to this is going to be tricky, yes and no, and I'm going to explain each of this answer. Yes, if you have adequate research experience. Now, PhD in Cambridge is research-based. It's not a taught program. So anyone who is going to accept to supervise you is going to look at the research potential that you have. And this person is going to judge based on what you've written in your research experience section of the application, as well as your research summary. You need to talk about the research skills, the skill sets you've generated. What research have you done in the past and all of that? And then your CV needs to show some of these things. Maybe you have publication, maybe you've worked with some kind of research laboratory outside school. Maybe your research project was an interesting project and you learned a whole lot of skill sets other than asking people to analyze results for you. So you can bring all of these things in. And if you have this strong research background, then my answer is yes, you can definitely, and you've done a 4-year program, because undergrad in Cambridge is 3 years, but if you do a 4-year program, it becomes undergrad and master's fused together. So the implication is that I want to believe that if you do a 4-year program in your respective country, I want to equate you with someone who has done a master's in Cambridge, who did undergrad and master's in Cambridge, with respect to the number of years that you've kind of acquired. And again, in Cambridge, for the 3-year program, they don't do final year dissertation. So they do only exam. So it's only if you want to do the undergrad and master's together that you now push yourself into 4th year, that you now be given an opportunity to do a research. Okay, so that prepares you to now go into a PhD if you want to. All right, so in that aspect, if you are someone who has done a 4-year course and you think you have a strong research background with your first class and a whole lot of other things going for you to apply for PhD, that is fine. But remember that there are a whole lot of people you're going to be competing with, people who probably have done masters elsewhere, okay, and have gotten both the undergraduate experience and the master's experience with respect to the research experience they have. And now they're coming to a PhD. So under that circumstance, I would say it might be better for you to apply for masters. Go for the masters, get that extra research experience, and then apply to PhD.
Yeah, I think that is really necessary, because with a PhD, trust me, if you don't really know what you are doing, you would cry. A lot of people start their PhD and then they realize it's not easy, because PhD is like you doing something new, which no one has done before. Although the methods you are using might be similar when you come to the science side, but you doing something new means you bringing up new formulations yourself. So if you don't really understand what you are doing, it's going to be difficult. So to me, if you want to do a PhD in a specific area which you are not really comfortable with, it would be good to do a master's, getting a deep grounding before venturing into the PhD. Okay, moving on to the next question. Someone asked that currently they don't think they could apply for 2022 September intake because the course they want to apply to or for in Cambridge requires TOEFL, and they are now preparing for it. So will they still benefit for the mentorship program and then the application process?
Okay, so like I said, I'm promising you right now that this mentorship is not going to end this year. But the only thing is that because we have this strong collaboration with the funding body, we thought that it might be awesome to bring in serious people who can benefit from that funding if they make competitive application. So next year, this particular mentorship is still going to continue. I want to promise you that. So if you think that you are not going to be applying this year and you just want to try this next year, that is perfectly fine, because trust me, if you're not applying and you come on board, you are not going to take us as serious as someone who is actually applying. And you can start asking questions and we'll begin to focus on you, while we would have ordinarily focused on someone who wants to actually submit application this year. So please, next year you can definitely follow us on our social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, all of that, YouTube, so that once we announce the next mentorship, you'll be able to apply. But for now, we just want people who really want to come on board.
Thank you very much for that, David. Someone asked a very interesting question. The person was like, she's interested in more than one program in Cambridge, but checking the application fee, she can't afford if she should apply for 2 or 3 programs. So is it, can she apply just for a number of programs with just one application fee?
So there are departments or faculties that allows you to submit up to 3 applications with 1 application fee, and that is life sciences. So you need to check if your department is one of them. Okay. Why for others, if you make 12 applications, which is allowed, you are allowed to make more than 1 application to come to Cambridge. They will all be reviewed independently. So if you make that 12 application, you have to pay 12 times. But for life science, and I think, I can't remember if Nano DTC does that, but for sure there are departments, there are faculties in Cambridge that allow you to make up to 3 different applications. So if this is not your case, I want you to sit down and ask yourself, which of these 3 do you really want? And if you want, you can have a one-on-one conversation with me. You can tell me why you are going for these 3 different ones. And based on what you've told me, I can give you some recommendation or feedback that is going to help you make the decision on which one to apply to. So the fact that you are applying to 3 doesn't necessarily mean that you are increasing your chances if you've not devoted your time to make excellent application. So instead of distributing your time across 3, why not just focus your energy in 1 and then make that one stand out, really?
Okay, I think that's a very good advice. And someone is also asking, do they need work experience before applying to Cambridge?
Oh, no. You don't need that. I think someone, I can't remember, is one of those people that sent me a private chat. I've seen that before. You do not need any work experience. In fact, last week, Cambridge University actually invited me to speak on the International Admission Open Day. And someone had asked the reverse question, that he has a lot of experience, work experience, so which means he or she left school for a long time, maybe up to 5 or 10 years. And now the person is coming back. And the person is worried if that is going to limit his or her chance of getting into Cambridge. None of that matters. Every single student that comes to Cambridge is unique. The fact that I came in the way I am doesn't mean that someone who is opposite of what I am cannot come into Cambridge. You bring in your own unique perspective. It's a diverse community, and the diversity is what makes Cambridge the way it is. Okay, so 1, you don't need any work experience. Between my master's and my PhD, I only had 3 days vacation. I received my master's on 27th of September, and I started my PhD October 1st. So I only have 3 days in between. Okay, and I made that application while I was still in my master's. Okay, I was still doing master's when I submitted my Cambridge application. So you don't need any kind of work experience. Although if you have one, that could count as a positive for you, provided you can stress and link up whatever that work experience is, and maybe what you want to come to Cambridge to do, or one of the things that Gates Cambridge is looking for in the personal statement. If there is no relationship between the work you've done and any parts of your application so far in Cambridge, it's useless.
Yes, I think that's it. And then also, please do check on the requirements of the course you want to apply to. I think in Cambridge, most of the courses don't require work experience. It's just a few courses like the MBA and then the MBE. Those ones are professional courses and they might require up to 5 years of working experience. Aside that, any other course do not require work experience. So you could apply for most of the courses. But the best thing to do is to just check on the course that you are interested in and then check the requirements, and then that would guide you through. Okay, David, someone wants you to share your thoughts. They said they've been researching on the Cambridge website, and then they see MRSC, MPHIL, and then MSc. These courses are all 1-year courses. So what are the differences between each of them?
Okay, so MRes means that that particular research is devoted to, that master's is devoted by research. There's no thoughts program. So you're not going to take classes where you enter the class and you are being taught to take exam and all of that. So it's purely research. That is MRes. Then your normal MSc is your standard masters that you know. There's no difference. It's just name, really. They are all masters. Then the MPhil, usually in the UK, MPhil is seen as a bit higher than MSc, but they all fall into the master's program. So whether your department has chosen to call it MPhil, or whether your department has chosen to call it MRes or MSc, they are all the same. The only difference I can see there is that for your MRes, they are particularly going to be research-based. Some MPhil are also research-based. Like for instance, in chemistry, your Masters of Philosophy in Chemistry is research-based, and it's a 1-year program. You don't need to take any thoughts course, no. So you'll be judged based on your thesis. Okay, so there is nothing much. The only thing you need to read through that departmental website and see, is it a taught course? Do you need to take classes, take exam, write essays, all of that, or do you not? Otherwise, whatever your department call it is what it is. There's no, don't bother yourself about the name.
Thank you very much for highlighting on this, David. Someone is asking, as a volunteer of AOID, do they also qualify to partake or participate in this mentorship program? And then
Yes.
Do they have a chance of winning a scholarship?
I'm not the one giving the scholarship, but one thing I can tell you is that those who come to volunteer as project facilitators or volunteers on AODI, Africa for Our Dream Initiative, one of the ways I tell them that I appreciate the amazing work they do to support the things that we do at AODI is to support them with their own dreams. So most of these people, some of them want to also make applications to further their studies and all of that. Personally, I give them tailored mentorship. I bring them on board this mentorship and allow them to get other perspective from other mentors, but they are just one dial away from me, And if they need any assistance, they can always talk to me. They are allowed to come on the mentorship program. And I could say it's not as if I'm trying to be partial, but you can imagine that someone who works with you on a foundation that you interact on daily basis or even on weekly occasion, even if it's monthly, if the person can always have access to you. Okay, but that doesn't guarantee, that doesn't mean that AODI is going to offer you scholarship. The only thing is that we can use the necessary thing we have to support you. And if you do your own part, you stand a better chance of getting your scholarship.
Thank you very much for this, David. I think for the next question, I would share my thoughts. Then maybe after that, you could also share your thoughts as well. Someone is asking that when he or she checks the Cambridge website, for some of the courses, they are like second class upper and then first class. But it seems AOID is limiting to first class, and then he or she doesn't understand. Okay, so with my thoughts, I'll say only for Ghana, because so that maybe you can also speak for the Nigerians or maybe any other country. When I was applying for my master's was second class upper and above. Now, when I went to check the requirement, and then I checked my country, Ghana. Ghana first class starts from, if you get 3.55 out of 4, you can be awarded the first class. 3.56, 3.57, you could be awarded the first class. But when I went to check on my course requirements page, Ghana, the minimum is 3.64 out of 4. So it means even if you have 3.55 on your certificate, you've been awarded first class, you still do not qualify to apply. So the reason why AOID is stressing for first class is because most of the courses and then the scholarships are very competitive. And then as part of other criteria, one of the criteria, as you see on the Gates Cambridge Scholarship, is academic excellence. So you are competing, although it's not fair, but you'll be competing with others. So aside from other criteria, they will still check your grade. And then in Cambridge, even if your department offers you a position because you pass very well with the interview, when it gets to the degree committee, they will still check your transcript and then check your final GPA to see if it meets the university's minimum requirements. If you are fortunate, and then your supervisor or the course director is very interested in you, they could write a letter to them recommending a place for you. But if not, even if on your certificate it states first class, you might not qualify. David, over to you.
Yeah, I think you've said it all, Andrews. Yeah, the person who said you saw second class. In fact, I have to tell you that the minimum requirement to come to Cambridge is actually a 2-1, second class upper. But if you are a first class, you stand a better chance because Cambridge is very competitive. The scholarships are competitive. Everything here is competitive. So the implication is that because we have a very short time frame, I wanted to maximize our chances of getting people in. That was the reason I narrowed down to just first class. I told you that we have a first section of mentees that we are mentoring, about 150 of them. Out of that 150, about 30 of them are second class. So for that particular application, which we opened the course since May, okay, so like almost more than 5 months ago, we started that mentorship program. So we had the time to go through the process of trying to support both the first class and the second class guys to make the application to stand out. But at this point, we don't have the time. Okay, if you're a second class person, you are 4 points all over 5 or something like that. you do stand a chance, but you need to put in a whole lot of work. The amount of work you need to put in is going to be far, far greater than what someone who's made a first class is going to put in. However, that you made a first class is not a one-way ticket to Cambridge. In 2019, I supported 2 different students. One of them made a CGPA of 4.87 all over 5, and the other one was 4.5. Both of them applied to chemistry departments. The person with a CGPA of 4.87 did not even get an offer of admission, talk more of funding. But the person with 4.5 got admission and also got funding. So you can see it's not all about your first class or your second class. There are a whole lot of other things that Cambridge considers to determine if you have the potential to actually come here, which is the thing that we are going to be extracting in the whole of this mentorship when we go forward. Okay, so apologies if you have a second class and I've limited this to first class. In fact, I also invited some second class here, to be honest. There are quite a few of you, about 5 or 6 of you who made second class fill the form. I just looked at it, looked at 1 or 2 things, researched you on LinkedIn and decided to add you up, okay? But that means if you are in that category, you need to do extra work. But to be honest, I wanted to focus on first class, and this is my reason for focusing on that.
Okay, thank you for your explanation, David. Someone is also asking, they do not have a background in a particular field. Let's say they have a background in physics, but they are aiming on doing a master's or a PhD in computational chemistry. Is it feasible or is it possible to get in?
Again, it's just how you make your own case. I'm going to use myself as a typical example. So I'm a typical example of this question. In my undergrad, my project was probably looking at a fabrication of nano through hole. They were all around the nanotechnology on a silicon wafer, which has some optical applications, right? Then for my master's was on single molecule magnets, which is a class of materials we are going to be using to develop future computers, like quantum computers. All of these were experimental. I never had any theoretical background. I don't know how to write a code before coming to Cambridge. I don't know how to solve a true Schrodinger equation, even as a chemist, without me looking at paper before coming to Cambridge. So I have no strong theoretical and computational background. But I was admitted to come to Cambridge to study theory and computational chemistry. How did that work? I reached out to my supervisor, the potential supervisor then. I had an interaction. I sent him email 4 times. It was the 4th time that he responded. We had a meeting and I told him, this is what I'm currently doing in Japan. I'm doing my master's in single molecule magnets. And then during the course of this project, I realized that there is a problem which experiments cannot help us to solve. And I think the way forward for this is to use computational techniques. I have the experimental background. You have a very strong computational background. And I'm thinking, why don't we bring this together and explore this new field? And that was it. That was how I just captured his mind. I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think if you are successful, I'll be happy to supervise you. That was it. And we moved on. In my own application, I continued to bring in, even where they talked about research experience, I listed every research experience I had experimentally, and then connected it with theoretical experience. One of few things that I know about the theory and how I can pursue my program when I come over here. So it's all about the story you are going to tell. Okay, so people move in between fields from engineering to whatever, something else. You just have to tell your story and show that you have the background that is going to support you in pursuing that program you want to.
Wow, that's a great story and then motivation for us all. At least now we know that we can switch fields, which is kind of encouraging. Someone is also asking that, looking at the application form, there are two major funding opportunities there, Gates Cambridge and then Cambridge Trust. But they've realized that in Cambridge, there are other, funding as well. So how can they apply for or seek for access for other funding that are not on the application form?
Doing NYSC too now.
Okay. So when you come on board this mentorship program, again, for those of you who read my first email religiously, I think I added a particular link that will take you to a scholarship platform where the entire scholarship that are possible at Cambridge are listed. Both the ones from colleges, the one from the Cambridge Trust you're talking about, Gates Cambridge, the ones that departments even gave. Most of them are on that platform. So you have to go back and reread that email if you've not read it religiously to figure out that. So that is one. Then the second, again, when I walk you guys through the application process, I'm going to tell you how to navigate. We are talking about Cambridge Trust, but Cambridge Trust itself has more than 100 partners. So Cambridge Trust has more than 100 people who give them money to support different different types of students. Okay, so if you are, for instance, from Nigeria, all you need to do is select a typical type of scholarship that you qualify for. For you to know the one you qualify for, there is a link within the scholarship form that takes you to Cambridge Trust website. You just select your country and select the program you want to come to Cambridge to do and select search. It brings out all the scholarship that Cambridge Trust supports, which you are eligible to, might be eligible to apply. Then click on the expanding button of each to look at the eligibility criteria. So some of them you might be eligible, other ones you won't be eligible, because within the application fee, we are going to be answering the question with 250 characters that says, why do you think you are eligible for this? So you need to explain. There are some scholarship that supports people who have lived in a place of violent place, maybe who have been criticized for who they are, who have been underrepresented. So if you fall, let's say that you're a Nigerian and you live around the Northeast region where Boko Haram is disturbing and all of that, then that could automatically make you to qualify for Rowan Williams scholarship, which is targeting people that have lived in a conflict zone. And then you can just say you qualify for this because you have lived in a conflict zone, your education has been affected or impacted by this, all of that. So later on, we're going to see details of all of this. But in addition to these internal scholarships, I'm going to also be sharing with you loads of external scholarship that you can also apply for. You can use it to come to Cambridge if you're successful. You can also use it to go to any other university. And I must tell you again, despite the fact that we are focusing on people who really want to apply to come to Cambridge, it doesn't mean that you should apply only to Cambridge. You can gain something from whatever we are going to be supporting you with and use it to make successful application elsewhere that is not Cambridge. The main thing is that we want you to keep in touch with us. And anytime you're successful with an application, you think that the support system we gave you has supported you, reach out to us and tell us so that we can put your name in the database of people that we've supported in the past. That could help us to access funding. So like if we have enough funding now, some of you that wouldn't be able to apply for this would have been able to pay off your application fee. We've been doing this. In the past, I've been using my private money to support some people where I can, but that is not sustainable. And we want to find a way to make it more sustainable.
Thank you very much for that, David. It seems an ambitious person is asking a very ambitious question. They are like, while studying, can they work part-time as a Cambridge student? And is it advisable?
Okay, so it depends on what you're studying. One, if you're a PhD student, your UK visa will allow you to study 20 hours a week, to work 20 hours a week. But in Cambridge, Cambridge has this restriction that you have to work 10 hours a week. However, please, if you are going to come to Cambridge, don't come to Cambridge basing yourself that you want to work. All right, there is going to be opportunity for you to work in Cambridge. I'm a PhD, I supervise undergraduate students. I do practical demonstration for Cambridge University. I have undergraduate students that I teach, and the university pays me for that. Okay, but when I was coming to Cambridge, I didn't have that at the back of my mind because I have my scholarship that are fully funded. Okay, so that is just some extra money that comes to my pocket, right? It's like 10 hours a week. So it might not be anything, unless if I'm supervising, I might be paid maybe £50 per hour or something like that. But what can £60 actually do for you? If I do 10 hours, £50, that's 500 a week, but you can rarely actually get that. Okay, you can rarely get that. So the part-time job you're going to do cannot even pay your rent, to be honest, unless you take it up as your full-time job. Outside term time, you are free to work full-time. But the problem with PhD is that your calendar is from October to September. So that means there is no outside term time for you. So anytime, although you have like a 42 days break, where you can decide to just travel out of the country or go somewhere or decide not to come to your lab, take that break. You can use that to work if you want and all that. But please don't focus the working part, but there is going to be opportunity for you to work, definitely.
Oh, okay, thanks for that. Let me also share mine. I think when coming to Cambridge, a lot of us had the notion of, doing a side job. But when we got in with my master's, we were told we are not supposed to work externally. So don't think of you trying to work externally because maybe you might not even have the time. I remember my MPhil course, we had a designated lecture theater, like when you're in primary school, and then we sit there from 9 to 5. After that, you are given a lot of assignments, a lot of things to do. So you might not even have the time to work. But in my college, I was a chapel steward when I go to church. And then anytime I steward, I get paid. So for that, I was allowed, but I wasn't allowed to do any external work. So as David said, don't come to Cambridge with a notion of working because you might not be allowed to work. But maybe you might get some opportunities to get some field work within campus, which you could do and might fetch you something, but it might not be enough. Thank you. So one other person was saying that does all courses require you to interview?
I think that is supposed to be the way it is designed, because when departments send your name to scholarship bodies, they will have to rank you. And before they can rank you, they need to score your application out of 30. And from this 30, 15 out of 30 is everything you've submitted in your application. And then 15 out of this 30 is for your interview. Okay, so for sure, PhDs will always want to be interviewed. It could vary across departments, but most of the departments I personally know, you would need to be interviewed. Okay, even for your master's, you would need to be interviewed. But some, especially for instance, the thought masters might not. Andrew, you might be able to share your own experience. The thought masters might not need interview, but most of the PhDs that you have here would need interview. And don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. When it comes to the interview, if you are invited to the interview, that is why we are going to keep in contact with you throughout the entire process. All you need to do is to let us know
we find someone in your department to do a mock interview with you. Okay, so that is the process. We are here to support you all the way. You submit your application, but the support doesn't end there. We continue to support you. If you're invited for interview, we get people from your department to tell you about the interview and all of that.
Okay, thank you very much, David. So with my experience, so for the masters, not all master's courses requires you to interview. Some master's courses, you would be assessed based on your application. So you have to put up a very strong application. For other masters, let me use my example. My program was quite international. So they were looking for at least one student from each country or each continent. And then initially, they were to select only 15, but applications were a lot, so they added 3. So in my class, we were just 18 out of 475 applications. So because of that, they were forced to interview even shortlisted applicants. And then because they were trying to make it international, it was highly competitive. So they had to use the interview as a breaking barrier. Do you understand? But not all courses requires interview. I know a lot of people who didn't interview for their course. So assessments were based only on the application. But for PhD, because the supervisor would like to know you more, you would definitely be interviewed, because the supervisor is going to work with you one-on-one for 3 or more years. So for that, I know that you definitely need to interview for that. But for masters, it's not really compulsory, or courses or departments don't really interview unless it's specified or it's a requirement by the course or certain factors influence them to interview. Okay, it seems the person doesn't want to go back to Africa. They are saying, they are saying, how possible is it to stay in the UK after you finish your course? And does the scholarship require you to return to your country?
Okay, so there's good news for you in that aspect. You know, Brexit also brought in some opportunity for some people, while it took away opportunity that other people also have. So the new UK immigration rule now allows masters and undergraduate students who have completed their program to stay in the UK for 2 years to look for job. So before now, if you complete your program, you have just 4 months. Within that 4 months, you need to get a job, and then your employer should be able to sponsor your visa. But right now, you no longer need that. You need to get a job. You have a whole 2 years to do that if you're master's or PhD or undergrad. But if you've done a PhD, then you have 3 years to do that. So for that 3 years, you can decide to receive the visa, and every day you sleep away the 3 years. Nobody is going to throw you back to your country. But the only thing is that at the end of that 3 years, if you've not found an employer who you are going to work with that will not be able to sponsor your visa, you will not be able to renew that visa. But trust me, 2 years is more than enough for you to do that. Talk more of 3 years, right? So that is with respect to the visa issue. Then with respect to whether you can become a citizen and all of that, UK has also started the points system, where if you've done undergrad here, you probably get 20 points. If you've done a PhD here, you get 40 points. And if all of that points comes together, you are up to 70%. After 5 years, you can apply for permanent rights to leave to stay. I don't know what they call it, whatever it is. But it allows you to then stay in the UK indefinitely. I think after 10 years, you can apply for citizenship. But that shouldn't worry you right now. When you come to Cambridge, we have international office that is responsible in giving you every advice around immigration. So they are excellent. The director of the international students is my very good friend. I worked with him while I was the president of international students. He's an amazing guy. He and his team has an amazing team of support that will give you every single migration advice you need. So you don't need to worry yourself about that.
Yes, thank you very much, David. It's like our time is almost up. We just have about 12 minutes. There are about 2,000, more than 3,000 questions here. And then I've tried my possible best to combine and then cover most of it. And then I think we have to give opportunities for those who have also raised their hand to ask their questions, which have not been answered. But please make sure that the questions you are going to ask have not been answered, okay? So that we don't prevent others from asking other important questions. But my last question to you, David, before I share the poll, I'm going to share the poll again for you to, it's just 2 questions, for you to fill it up, okay? And then we want, please, an honest feedback from you, because it also helps with the decision making. My final question to you, this one is for me personally. How has Cambridge grown you? What opportunities have you been able to get in Cambridge? And then how do you think Cambridge has influenced your life, your decision, everything about you? And then what's your advice to others who would also want to come to Cambridge to experience the Cambridge life?
You know, to be honest, I think my Cambridge experience is unique. The reason I say that is that I always tell people that I feel that I went through Cambridge and I allowed Cambridge to go through me. The reason is that 2 weeks after I arrived Cambridge, I got involved with the community. Cambridge is a magical place. Before I left Japan, when I was doing my master's, I had a fully funded PhD offer in Japan. Despite having that, I still made the decision to come to Cambridge because I wanted to go to an English-speaking country. And I said, okay, if I have to abandon my current scholarship in Japan, then I would need to go to a world top university. I applied to MIT, Cambridge, and Oxford. I got into all 3 of them with all fully funded. So I have to make a decision. Where do I have to go? There are a whole lot of things, check and balances I have to do. And finally, I made the decision to come to Cambridge. And today, to be honest, I'm not regretting that decision. So coming to Cambridge, I got involved with student unionism. I ran 2 weeks after arriving in Cambridge. I ran for the president of international students of the Graduate Union. I ran against 12 people and I won that 2 weeks after coming to Cambridge. Since then, all my Cambridge experience has been amazing. From there, I led my college. I was the college president for another year. I founded a Wolfson Entrepreneurial Society, became the president. I'm a student who is on scholarship, but I'm also a board member of the scholarship that is sponsoring me. Okay, I give voice of the students to that. I've served different committees in my department. There's rarely any problem I would have in Cambridge that I don't know who to go talk to. In addition to that, Cambridge is very entrepreneurial. It supports entrepreneurial spirit. It supports people who want to combine science and business, want to combine business and art, whatever it is. There is a whole lot of opportunity. Someone was asking me, what is the highlight of my coming to Cambridge? And because maybe they saw that within 4 years, I had made up to 8 publications from my research, they were expecting me to say, is the academic excellence? But no, the highlight of my being in Cambridge is the network I have built, the strong network I have built. There is rarely people that someone you will tell me, okay, this person, I'll say, okay, I've met this person. And most times when you talk to people about me and they say, yeah, okay, yeah, I've met David. I met him here and there, that kind of thing. There is George Business School, which despite me being a scientist, I decided to leverage the opportunity that offers. The programs I did there were all free. I was able to do that because I was part of the Cambridge University. So I did that program on scholarship for 1 year.
It exposed me to the business side of things, the entrepreneurial side of things, that right now I'm not thinking about what can I do tomorrow to launch my own company, a company of my own, that kind of thing. So there are a whole lot of amazing people. It's so diverse. You speak with people from different perspectives. You listen to them, they talk to you, you gauge that with what you used to know, you become a better person. Cambridge is just an amazing place. And so, if you have the opportunity to be here, please don't trade it even for a single night's sleep. Don't trade it for anything. It's an amazing place for you to come. Coming to Cambridge is going to be, how will I put it? The sky is not going to be your limit. If you get here, it's going to be your starting point, because you will eventually do greater things. You will have confidence to rule your own world.
Wow, wow, wow. I'm really impressed. The part that really got me was I had admission to Cambridge, Oxford, MIT, Japan, and I still had to make a decision. I saw some people saying, wow, wow, wow. Yeah, I think, Cambridge is a good university, very great university. And I think it makes you entrepreneurial as well. So let me share my experience, just 1 minute, then we move on to the others who have raised their hand. So I'll say Cambridge also made me entrepreneurial, and then I took advantage of certain courses and certain opportunity. So as I showed you before, I was I was the assistant organizer to the Cambridge Entrepreneur Society. And then I also did a course called Postdoc to Innovation. And then with my course being both science and business, and then I also kind of attached myself to certain Cambridge Accelerator programs. And then these gave me passion or increased my entrepreneurial spirit. So currently I'm in Ghana. I came to Ghana to gain some experience in genomics because I needed to take advantage of my, gap year and then make some connection in certain key areas. So I visited this research institute to kind of gain access to their genomic lab because they just bought some very powerful equipment, which is the second in Africa. Then I wanted to have access to that. So I came, and then after the first 2 days, the director of the organization called me and was saying, Andrew, I received some positive feedback from you. It seems everyone is talking about your enterprise and mindset and then questions. And I've been thinking of setting an enterprise unit in this facility. Can you lead in initiating that? And I'm like, really? You see, so Cambridge is really entrepreneurial. So those of you who are business mindset, I think if you are able to come to Cambridge and then you kind of make yourself available to the opportunities that are there, you really gain a lot. And then you would have a lot of experiences to be able to invest in other places as well. So before I'll share the poll now, but I'll give access to Sodiq Abdul Ganin to ask your question. Yeah, please unmute yourself and then you can ask your question whilst I share the poll. Please try to answer with all honesty, I beg you. So I've launched the second poll. Okay, Sadiq, over to you. Sodiq, sorry.
Sadiq, can you ask your question? Unmute yourself. We can't hear you. You need to unmute yourself. You're still.
Okay, Chioma. Are you ready to ask your question, Chioma? Okay, it seems Chioma is also not ready. Peter. Okay, Chioma. Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Sadiq, please hold on. Let Chioma start. Then after that, you come in. Okay, we just have. I'm just adding extra 10 minutes. So please have just 1 minute to ask your question and then 1 minute answer.
Okay, I found a course I want to do. So, but the supervisor required I should write a personal statement and that she will have to reply to me before I will apply to the university. So I'm actually looking at how fast is the reply going to come before the deadline. So I don't know how to go about the application, and that's my problem now.
Okay, so if I understand, your supervisor wants you to send a personal statement, and you're worried that you probably don't know how to go about writing your personal statement. So the only thing I can say is, at the end of this call, I'm going to share a Google form. The Google form is just asking you to give two things: your email address and your phone numbers. So I'm going to use the email address to send you a link that is going to give you access to the resources we are going to use in helping you. So in these resources, you are going to see guidelines on writing personal statements and all of that. And once you join the WhatsApp group and you've started writing your personal statement, if there is any question on structure or what you should bring, you can talk about it on the WhatsApp group. But there is going to be a particular PowerPoint in the resource folder that will be shared with you that has every single information about how you have to go about writing your personal statement.
Thank you very much for that, David. So Sadiq, over to you.
Oh, thank you so much. My question goes thus. Is it compulsory that at the point of application, one should have a UK visa? Because this thing is coming as very urgent, and processing of visa will take nothing less than 2 months. I'm a Nigerian, so I just want to confirm how fast it's going to be. Is it compulsory at the point of application? Thank you, sir.
Okay, so you don't need a visa to apply to any UK university, because you only get a visa when you have, one, been offered an admission, and two, you've met all the conditions of the admission. Then only then would the university that is supposed to sponsor your visa will issue you what we call CAS statement. The CAS statement is going to describe your course that you want to study and the duration of your course. Without a CAS statement, you cannot obtain any student visa. And that is only issued to you when you have met all the conditions of your offer, if you are successful with your application. So you don't need to worry. That also reminded me, there is someone who have said, do you need a passport to make your application? In the application form, you'll be asked, do you have a passport? There is option for yes and no. If you don't have, that should not stop you from making your application. Just say no. That does not in any way affect your application. If you don't have a passport, select no, you don't have. Don't start making the application for your passport now before submitting. No, don't do that. But if you have a passport, an international passport, say yes, and then they'll ask you to give the details, the expiring date, the name, what's it called, the passport number and all of that. But if you don't, once you are made an offer, you'll be required to provide all of that. So that is when you worry yourself, not at this stage.
Okay, thank you very much for your clarification, or for the clarification, David. Now we move to Jude Neji. And then before that, those on YouTube asking if we've shared the WhatsApp link. No, we've not shared it. We are rather going to share a Google form for you to provide your email and then your WhatsApp contact. So we will try our possible best to share the link with you on YouTube as well. Okay? Okay, Jude, are you ready now? Okay, next, Peter in Gomba.
Hello, good evening. This is Peter. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Peter.
Okay, thank you very much for this wonderful initiative, Mr. David, and thank you, co-host. My question is this. You said something very, very pertinent about the underrepresentation of people from our region. so I'll take it to be Africa. But there is also a concern I have about like the sub-regions in Africa. You know that most people who come to the Anglophone countries to study, Anglo-Saxon countries, the US and the UK, are mostly people who have backgrounds from countries like Nigeria, Ghana. But what about those from countries like French-speaking countries like Benin Republic, Cameroon, you know, Gabon, Central African Republic, who may want to study in some of these good schools, and Cambridge is like an Ivy League school in UK standards. So is there some deliberate policy or action or initiative that is taken to assist them to have some kind of smooth entry, you know, based on merit, but knowing that they have this background of French, but also when they go through the TOEFL to make things balanced, because they are not too introduced in the Anglo-Saxon system of education from a very early stage. Thank you.
Okay, so with respect to that, the only problem I see you can face is the English language problem.
Okay.
Aside that, with respect to your academic qualification and making a competitive application, that is why we are here. So we are going to provide to you the same set of support we provide to someone from Ghana, someone from Nigeria, from South Africa, someone from Iran. I don't care where you come from. All I care is you have this passion, you want to come to Cambridge, and you are willing to play your own part. You are willing to do your own research. You are willing to take the support we give to you and move it to the other level. If this is you, then you are very welcome. Okay, so for the English language test, I'm not sure if any of these countries you've mentioned is in category B, but if they are, that is fine. However, I also want to mention that you don't necessarily need to fulfill the English language test. There's an option in that application which says you don't have the language test, but you hope you are going to register to write it. So the implication is that you should not say you can't continue with your application because you've not written the language test. No, because that has an option where it tells you, okay, you are not from the category A, you are not from category B, which means you don't stand for a waiver, and you've not written a test. But there's an option that tells you you've not written a test, you don't have a score, but you plan to register and write it. You select that option. That will not affect your chances of getting an offer. That is if you are not one of those hefty departments like law, or was it law or economics, that specifically wants you to submit that language test with your exam. If they don't mention that in your department, in any of your departmental website, don't worry about that. Click that, you've not written it, you're going to write it later. To be honest, I tell people, don't waste your money writing English tests until you're sure of your admission. Once you are admitted, you'll be given a conditional offer. And one of the conditions will be that you will meet the English requirements. At this point, you are confident enough that, okay, you already have a scholarship, you have a conditional offer, then you can go and spend that money and make sure you pass the test. For now, don't worry yourself about spending. The only money I want you to worry yourself about is the £75 you're going to pay for the application fee. So any other thing, even money to get a transcript, don't worry about that. I've told you, unless you don't know what your results are. If you know what your results are, you can put them together by yourself. Just make sure that it's not going to be any discrepancy between whatever you've put there and what your original result is going to have. Because when you are admitted, you'll be asked to submit your original result as part of the condition.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much. I'm very satisfied with the answer. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll just allow 3 people to ask their question, then we summarize, okay? So, Ijurogate, are you there?
I'm here. Good evening.
Okay, could you please ask your question?
All right, thank you very much for this opportunity. Yeah, my question is, firstly, I have a biomedical engineering background, and also I have a master's in business administration, MBA to be precise. Please, do I what I'm trying to understand now is, do I stand a chance for MSc or PhD with my MBA degree due to the fact that I have more publications with my MBA degree?
Now, what is your PhD going to be in? Is it related to what you did in MBA?
Business, because I was going through the department and I saw the George Business School.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the only one I was eligible, or I am eligible for, is the Masters in Entrepreneurship.
So why do you want to do? I thought you wanted to go for a PhD.
Yes.
Or you want to do another master's?
That's what I'm asking. Is it possible I can go for a PhD? If it's possible, I don't mind then.
Yes, you already have a master's, so you can go for PhD.
But the requirements is stay in the first class and.
Okay, I see where you are coming from. If the requirement is a first class, can you mute this person? I don't know who is doing that.
Yeah, I'm trying to. Inu, could you mute yourself? It's like I'm muting, you don't want to mute.
Okay, so as what I was trying to, if they require first class and you think you don't have a first class, to be honest, sometimes I've seen people who boycott whatever it is. That's because they have other strong things to go for them. The best thing to do is to reach out to the department and tell them what your condition is and ask if you should still go ahead and submit for the PhD. And if the response is negative, then because Masters in Entrepreneurship is different from Masters in Business Administration, you can go for the Masters in Entrepreneurship. But otherwise, try to reach out to the department first, share your CV if possible, highlight the fact that you have a lot of publications, although you probably have a 2-2 in your undergrad, but your Masters of Business Administration is, I don't know, merit, distinction, whatever it is. Argue that you are a sound student. They want to see that potential. Maybe you have some circumstances that led to you having, it's only in Africa that when people make second class or third class, we usually don't ask ourselves, could there be some mitigating circumstances that led to that? Here in the UK, even when you apply for jobs, they will tell you that this particular job is a minimum of 2-1. However, if you made a 2-2, you can still see people who make 2-2 and they get in there. That's because they had some mitigating circumstances that affected their studies, and then they landed in 2-2. So during the job application, they will still be able to apply and tell you this was their circumstances. And in most cases, they will have, of course, you have a proof to prove that this was actually a mitigating circumstance towards your journey. And you'll be considered on that basis. So if you also have a mitigating circumstance that you think affected your first year, your first course, your first degree, and all of that, you can include all of that there in your application. They want to see all of that. Okay, it's funny. I was helping someone with a personal statement, and it happened that this person had a child out of wedlock, and she was kind of ashamed of putting that in a personal statement. That is because of the culture in Africa. When you have that kind of thing, people look at you as this wayward kind of person, that kind of thing. But here it's not. I asked her to put that she's a single mother. She has struggled to raise her kids and still pursue her studies and all of that. The girl in question I'm talking to you is doing her master's in Cambridge. And she wrote about her child out of wedlock in her personal statement. It's not enough to mention that, but she had to go ahead and say the things she went through and how she navigated through that process and still come out with the best that she can. Okay, so people could see that this person is a fighter. Even without the resources and with this mitigating problem, she was still able to get here. If you give her the necessary platform,
she's going to do amazing things. And that was it.
Wow, that's a great story.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Please, last two, then we try to summarize. So Josh, Matt, are you available?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much. And thank you, David.
After you, then we have Safiat, then we end.
Yes, thank you so much.
So Safiat, get ready.
My question is, what are or what is the criteria for selecting the 10 people you mentioned earlier?
Okay, so the form that was filled, I just gave the partner organization access to the form. So they have their own criteria. I wouldn't even know who they are choosing. So they would just choose the people and contact.
Okay,
initially, what they told me is that they wanted people who have higher chances of getting admission either at Oxford or Cambridge. So they are going to look at the form that you've completed. That was the reason I asked the part where I say, why do you want to come to Cambridge? Even though I mentioned there, I said, don't just start with because Cambridge is renowned, is the best university in the world or something like that. Even though I said, don't tell me that, some people still went ahead to tell me I want to come to Cambridge because it's a top university of the world. But we'll see. So if you've written something like that, they wouldn't probably look at your application. But I don't know. Those 10 people, they will reach out to them.
Okay, thank you so much. That was helpful.
And just to mention, I already shared those forms both on YouTube and.
Hello.
Hello? Hello? Please, Jude, you've already answered your question, right? You've already asked your question. So, Sefeyat, are you available?
Yeah, I'm available. Thanks so much.
You are the last.
Good evening. Thanks for the lecture. Yeah. So my question goes this way. I did my MSc and I did something on a different research topic. Now I now have a new research topic that I'm so much interested in because my professional background now lies in that research area. So can I divert from what I did in my MSc to go for what I now have left for?
Yeah, I think it's a typical example of what I have said before. The only thing is that there must be a connection. You have to give a reason, because if you don't give a reason, let's say that in your first master's, you were investigating how to rear cattle. And then in your second master's, you started investigating how a car works. So somebody who is reading your previous research experience dealing with cattle might not understand, why is this lady interested in car all the way from cattle? This is a new area entirely. Do you have the necessary skills? What experience do you have? But let me tell you now, I could, if I'm the person that is writing this, mention in my statement that I had worked on rearing cattle. And why I'm doing that, I always look at the physical strength of cattle, how far they can walk. If you give them load, would they be able to do this? And then I realized that the velocity at which a cattle moves is dependent on maybe the thickness of the foot or something like that. And that enticed me to start thinking about the way cars operate. That is it possible for us to control the weight of a car in order to increase the speed? Or is it possible for us, is it possible that when a car is more heavy, it runs faster? Or when it's less heavy, it runs slower? What is the dynamics? So because of this thing that I've understood from the cow rearing study that I did, I want to use that knowledge to investigate this aspect of automobile to see how we can improve the speed, velocity to weight ratio of automobiles. Do you see, initially, when I said this, you wouldn't see any correlation. But with what I've said now, you can now begin to say, okay, I can see why this person is interested in this. So you need to build a connection from your past into your present to your future.
Wow, that's great.
Thanks so much.
I think that's really great. And then it has
Please,
really.
I have a question.
Okay, Helen, please ask. Okay, just 1 minute.
Okay, thank you. Please, when I went to the university website and I graduated from FUTA. I studied food science and technology, and I could not see any course that is related to food science. So that's why I want to ask her.
Okay, I also mentioned this in my first email. I said, if you are interested in a particular course that you knew with a particular name, you might come to Cambridge and it's not there. And also, it's also possible that a course has no relationship with any course that is being done at Cambridge. It simply means that your interest is not here. So you probably should look for any other university out there. However, I really want people to start looking at their research interests. You study food science and technology. What about food science and technology interests you? Are you interested in looking at what kind of plants can we use to substitute carbohydrates? Are we interested in what kind of technology can we use to produce more healthy plant food? If that is true, you might begin to check research that people in plant science are doing. So despite the fact that you have done something in food science, you can do a project in plant science that is related to food science as well. But the question you need to ask yourself is, why do I want to do this research? Okay, I always tell people, don't come to do PhD because every other person is doing it. Don't do a master's because
Please
every other
note
person
that
is
when
doing
your
it.
application fee does not
Ask
submit
yourself,
certification,
why are you doing this?
I have submitted.
Ask yourself, why are you doing this? Okay, so if you answer that, what will you want to do when you finish this course? So that will help you to understand if whatever it is in that department that they are doing that is likened to a topic you are interested in, if that is one for you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David, for the deep insights and then questions. They were really impressive and very interesting depths. And then I think it has provided lots of guidelines for all of us. We really appreciate the time you took in researching those broad answers to the questions that were put before. As we are about to end, I want to ask you, is there any announcement you would like to relay out? And then if you have any closing remarks for everyone.
Yeah, sure. Just what I wanted to say, I already shared the link on YouTube. I'm going to delete it 30 minutes later. The reason is that I don't want people who didn't attend this program to fill the form, because what will happen when they do is that they will come on the WhatsApp and start asking questions that we have addressed here. So that is one. And please don't share this link with anyone. Then the second thing is on the issue of following us on our social media platform. We always want to reach a wider audience. Before now, we've been doing a lot of events and it looks like as if it's Nigeria heavy. I don't personally want that. I want to expand to other countries and be able to offer opportunities elsewhere. So please follow us across our social media platform. Check the first email that I sent to you. It has a link that has all the link to our social media platform. What is it called? Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, on YouTube. Follow us everywhere and just help us. That is the only thing I'm asking of you. I'm not asking you to pay me any money. You don't even need to tell me thank you. All you need to do is support what we are doing. If we make a post, like our post, you liking our post, for instance, on LinkedIn, we allow your followers, your network, to see whatever it is that we've posted. We just want to make impact and affect as much life as we can. Okay, then going forward, like I said, we've shared the link, the WhatsApp group form.
where you're going to just put in your number and your email. So using the email you're going to put in there, I'm going to send you links to all the resources, from scholarship links to how to write personal statements, CV, how to contact supervisors, everything that you need, I'm going to send it to you. As well, I'm going to attach some link to past YouTube events that we did. They're just 1 hour and all of that, about the entire, that explains the entire application process. Please, I'm begging you in the name of God or whatever you believe in, try to read through those resources, watch those YouTube videos. You will gain a whole lot from there. When you've done that, then it will be easy for us to communicate on WhatsApp. And as always, I'm very happy to help anyone listening to you. You know, all we need is that we want you to succeed. And I hope you'll be able to do that.
Thank you very much, David. We really appreciate all the efforts you put together to organize this, and then every effort and resource spent, you know, tackling a lot of challenges faced by students all over Africa. We hope that this section has benefited all of you immensely, and then you are going to take certain tips that have been shared to improve upon yourself, and then the applications that you are going to make. Best wishes to all of you upon your application to Cambridge and other universities. And then we hope that you'll continue to follow us in all of our social media platforms. And also do check out our website. And then we are going to update it soon to include other interesting stuff. So do check up our website from time to time in order to get updated about all the events and activities that we have organized and are going to organize again. To those that will be fortunate enough to be added to the WhatsApp group, I would meet you once again. To those that are unable to join due to certain reasons, don't give up. Do continue to follow us, and then continue to keep an eye on our LinkedIn and then Facebook platform for other interesting events that may come, and then you might be fortunate. We are also open for any questions that you may have, and then we'll be happy to respond. Currently, I will say good night to you all, and then wish you the very best, and then see you next time. It's been an hour moderating this event. It's been an honor moderating this event, and then a privilege seeing and then talking to you all. Thank you very much to all of you, and then have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
sir. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Good night.
Bye, sir.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you all very
Thank you
much.
very
Good night.
Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.
Good night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Bye.
All the best.
Noise makers.